Hello and welcome to www.luxurytolast.com. Today we're talking about one of my all-time favorite brands, which is Breitling. Now, Breitling is an interesting brand. Breitling has a long history of watches, and they're a brand that I think that Breitling was ahead of its time in many ways, in the sense that the Breitling models have been large size, and this was before large size watches were fashionable. So they were sort of a market leader in many styling cues that Breitling uses. Breitling itself, as an experienced watch collector, I would say, look, the big thing I love about Breitling is their beautiful dials. The dials are absolutely amazing. And I'd say the same of Frank Muller. Frank Muller's the dials are absolutely amazing, and Breitling is similar. Breitling's also very, very popular because of its aviation ties. Many of the watches, and you look at some of the advertisements that Breitling uses, they really publicize the aircraft link to the Breitling name there. And some of the ambassadors, John Travolta and other famous pilots like that. Breitling also puts its money where its mouth is when they sponsored the upkeep and restoration of the classic Super Connie Breitling aircraft, and that's in Breitling livery, and I think that's a wonderful thing that Breitling has done. The brand itself, what's it like as a collectible? Well, look, the downside is whenever there's an upside, there's also a downside. What is the downside with Breitling? Well, the big thing about Breitling is that most of the movements that Breitling uses are not in-house movements. Now, Breitling is developing, and they have got their own in-house movement, but most of the movements that are used are actually ETA or Valjoux based, and they're modified by the Breitling workshop. Now, that's the negative with Breitling, and that's something that I've found a bit hard to accept myself, because what it means is that the movement, say the Valjoux 7750, which they use in the Navitimer, you can also find it in less expensive watches like, say, a Hamilton. And you kind of, it's similar to having a supercar which uses having an Italian supercar which uses an American engine. And at the end of the day, whilst it keeps prices down and it makes a lot of things possible, it also hurts the brand itself. So that's the big negative with Breitling. The upside, of course, is that Breitling does finish their movements to an extremely high standard. So I would have to say that the movement finish that Breitling goes to is actually extraordinary. And I'd have to also say the customer service that Breitling provides, and I say this honestly, walks all over that provided by Rolex and other high-end makers like Cartier. And I've had some fantastic service from Breitling, and I've been very, very pleased with the efforts they've gone to help me. Breitling itself, the classic iconic watches in the Breitling range, well, you can't get more classic than the Navitimer. A modern classic, the Breitling emergency watch. Breitling's also very famous for its SuperOcean, and also the Breitling for Bentley models, where Breitling and Bentley have worked together they've had a lot of joint advertising, and the range of Breitling for Bentley watches are just absolutely amazing. They're marketed as being a cut above the standard Breitlings, and I myself, my all-time favorite Breitling model is the Navitimer, and I think that's an iconic piece. It's a classic piece, and it's a lovely one to have. It does use a Valjoux 7750 movement, so in some sense that's a negative. What's Breitling like? Well, one of the big criticisms of Breitling is that they take a big whack as far as the depreciation goes. And Breitling doesn't hold its value as good as Rolex or Patek Philippe. No, that is quite true. And sometimes it can be quite severe. But the sensible investor, sensible watch collector, would counter that by buying pre-owned pieces. And with a bit of knowledge and a bit of expertise, you can certainly have a good faith and be able to do that without suffering depreciation if you want to pass on a model down the track. And I must say, every Breitling I've owned, I've always made money on it. Admittedly, all the Breitlings I've bought have been pre-owned, and that's often the wisest advice. And I must say too, there aren't many models where you can buy new and get out without doing your shirt. So it's not just a Breitling thing. I think Breitlings themselves, their modern pieces have, as far as collectability goes, it's like most watch brands. It's hard to see them being greatly valuable or increasing hugely in price. They'll sort of hold their own. Some of the vintage Breitlings, they are very collectible. Some of the older Navitimers, very collectible and valuable pieces. So if you do want to invest in some quality Breitling stock, you'd certainly, if you get some early pieces from Breitling, and there's certain models that are very desirable, you certainly can do very well with the brand. The brand has a long history of chronographs. The brand has a long history of innovation, and it's a fair income good brand. And I honestly, I'd never say anything bad about having a Breitling piece in your range. I'd tend to, if you are buying pieces, stay away from the quartz. Now, I say that with all brands. It's not just a Breitling thing. You're much better off stay away from quartz, stick with mechanical or automatic pieces, and that's the best way to preserve your investment. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please come to my free information website, www.luxurytolast.com. Heaps of product reviews, heaps of stories about watch collecting, and heaps of general advice. Thanks very much.